We're going to finish up our lesson 1.8 notes 3 today. So try to follow along and make sure you're complete in these so that you make good setups for your own problems today. So when we are working today, we're going to continue on solving proportions. We're going to have to set up our own today. So let's start with number 5 here. The ratio of games won to games lost for a baseball team is 3 to 2. Order matters in a ratio. We're comparing. So we have won to lost. So that would mean the 3 in this ratio represents games won, and the 2 represents games lost. So that's going to be our first ratio that we're going to write in our proportion. And we're going to use labels in them. So we're going to say 3 won to 2 lost. And we are going to set up another ratio, so we'll put our equal sign. That when we get our other ratio, we'll have our proportion. The other information they gave us is that the team won 18 games. So they won 18. So that would mean we want the 18 upstairs where the games won are in the other ratio. And we're trying to solve for how many did the team lose. So we're going to call that X lost. So we're solving for the games lost if they won 18. Okay, now we'll do our cross products. We'll take our 3 times our X and set that equal to our other cross product, which is 2 times 18, or 18 times 2, order does not matter. We have 3x on the left side, 2 times 18, which is 36 on the right side. And now we will divide both sides by 3 to get that x alone. And we're going to have x is equal to whatever 36 divided by 3 is, and that is 12. So we're going to say these are 12 games lost. That's our title, our label for it. After we have our answers today, since we're setting up our own proportions to problem solve, we need to decide if we have a reasonable answer or not. So we go back and we look and we say, okay, in the beginning, they said that the ratio of games won to games lost was 3 to 2. So they won more games than they lost. So that should be the situation for our other ratio then. Did it end up that they won more games than they lost? They won 18, they lost 12. So we could seem to think that we have a reasonable answer in this situation. Okay, let's go on to our other one that we're going to work. The ratio of the number of bones in the human skull to the number of bones in the ears is 11 to 3. Okay, so human skull, that's our 11, because that goes before the word 2, and then the bones in the ears, that would be our 3. So let's write that down. We have 11 in the human skull. You know what, we'll just abbreviate that skull about. So 11 skull bones and to 3 ear bones. And then we will set up a ratio with the other information that we're given and what it is we're solving for. So there are 6 bones in the ears. Okay, so the ears are downstairs in the other one, so we'll put them downstairs in this one. And we're solving for how many in the skull. So notice, we're just putting our labels in the proportion, but I do insist that you do that. It helps you see that you have a good setup. Then you can drop those labels while you're doing your cross products. So we're going to do 3 times x, and we're going to do 11 times 6. So we end up with 3x equal to whatever 11 times 6 is. That happens to be 66. And now we will divide each side by 3. And we will have x is equal to whatever 66 divided by 3 is. That happens to be 22. So these are 22 bones in the skull. So we just found out how many bones are in the human skull, 22 of them. Now let's see if that seems reasonable. It said in the beginning that the number of bones in the skull compared to them in the ears is 11 to 3. So there's a lot more in the skull than in just the ears. So let's see, then they said there are 6 bones in the ears. How many are in the skull? We needed there to be fewer in the ears, just like in the other comparison. And we get 22 for the skull. So it seems pretty reasonable that we have a good answer. Another way, though, to really check that out is, remember we had 11 to 3, so that's 11 thirds. Can we get 22 over 6 to simplify to 11 over 3? So if we divide both, they're both an even number here, so if we divide both of them by 2, 22 divided by 2 is 11, 6 divided by 2 is 3, so 22 to 6 does simplify to 11 over 3. And that's what needs to happen in a proportion. One ratio really has to be the same as the other. One, they're just different names for the same value. Okay, along with what you did yesterday and what we just did here, you should be ready to do your homework. See you tomorrow.